Okay, I've got a multi-step equation here that's kind of difficult because it's got fractions in it, but if I kind of ignore the fractions, it's just the same thing as anything else. I'm going to put all my letters over on my left side, and I'm going to put all my numbers over on my right side. That means I've got to move the 1/8 b. So I'm not going to think about the fraction at all. I'm just going to do regular algebra here and just move it to the other side. And it's gone here. Secondly, I'll move the 4 to the other side, and I'll cancel it out. Now I'm going to rewrite what I've got left. And if I take 88 minus 4, I end up with 84. The hard part is taking 1/2 minus 1/8. Now if you're doing this by hand, 1/2 minus 1/8 is hard because you got to change them to a common denominator. Common thing that 2 and 8 both go into is 8. And 2 goes into 8 4 times. So 4 times 1 is 4/8 minus 1/8. All right, and when I do 4/8 minus 1/8, I get 3/8. And that's 3/8 b. Now the reason we showed you to use a calculator yesterday and how to use the fractions on the calculator was just for this purpose, because if you type that in using your numerator and denominator button on your calculator, it's really simple and it's not anything to even worry about, because the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to divide by a fraction. So we're going to have to divide by 3/8 on both sides to get rid of it. Now dividing by 3/8, if you remember KFC, cooking with the Colonel, you keep flip change. I'm just going to multiply 8/3 by both sides. And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I wish I had that calculator right now because it's really easy. This b becomes by itself, but 84 over 1 times 8/3, that's hard. So I'm hoping that something will cancel here, and I'm seeing only a 3, and I know 3 is prime, so the only thing that goes into it would be 3. So I'm going to try and cancel the 3. Oops, I don't want to write that. I want to write a 1 because 3 goes into 3 once. I hope it goes into 84. Let's see, 3 goes into 8 twice, and 24, that's 28 times. Oh, okay, that's better. It's better than going 84 times 8 and then dividing by 3. So 28 times 8, 2 times 8 is 16, that's 160, plus 64, that's 224 over 1. Which is 224. Let's move on to the next problem. Again, this one's a lot the same, but it's got fractions, and the neat thing is the fractions are already set up with common denominators, so I'm not even going to grab that calculator. It's so easy. I'm going to subtract 1/4 k from this side. Again, I'm trying to get all my letters on the left. I'll cancel this out. I'll add the 5 to both sides. And 3/4 minus 1/4 is 2/4, which I like to call a half. But I'll just go ahead and write it as 2/4 k. And that equals -1 payback 5 gives me a total of 4. Now, I've got to divide by 2/4, which is the same as multiplying by 4/2. So I'll multiply this side by 4/2. Use a calculator if you've got one that does fractions. This will be easier. K is, let's see, 2 goes into 2 once, it goes into 4 twice. And then with multiplying fractions, I go straight across. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. That's 8 total. K is 8. That's the answer to that equation. Let's look at the last one. This one doesn't have fractions or decimals. It's really sweet. So it's just a review of the basics. And those basics are, I'm going to put the letters on the left and the numbers on the right. Whoa, wait a minute. No, I'm not. I'm going to be different here because I'm smarter than the average rock. And I'm not talking Dwayne Johnson here. You see, I've got a negative 5p on that left side. And if it's a negative 5p and I take another 4p away from it, that's going to be a negative 9. That's a pain in the butt. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to say, hey, wait a minute. If I move the letters to the right instead, I'll keep it positive. And if I take and add 1 to the other side, that'll keep it positive. So these are gone. 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 plus 5 is 9p. Oh, nifty. I can see the end. Do you see the end? Don't say yes. P is 1. So the whole thing we're doing here is sorting. Sometimes we have to deal with fractions, and most often they're in common denominators. Sometimes they're not in common denominators, and I have to do this little multiplication thing here to get them to be common denominators.